So what I want to talk about today is like why integration feels like stillness. And like it's weird. Because it's like, what do you mean? The more of myself, the more hands on deck I have in regards to myself, the more stagnant I feel. And my perception of this is one aspect which is contrast. Like, if you're used to being so go, 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 and it's doing, and it's plotting and scheming with the mind, and also if you're not numbing, it's like, the heart's feeling so much as well, and like, just like everything's just like, you're in this tornado of life, but you're in a state of like, resistance in the past. Everything is big highs, big lows, big pivots. And then you end up identifying with that. Like you go, that is life, that is reality. And it's so simple, but it makes sense. Like, because integration is when you settle into yourself. There's a trust that the aspects of myself that may be needed in a given moment isn't something that I need to plan, but that I'm so still, that I'm so here, that I notice. And through that noticing, it's like the whole that you're a mosaic of everyone you've ever met, as well as meaning that everyone that you've ever met has brought you to your own realization. So it's that you're a mosaic of all the different parts of yourself in your expression. And like whatever it is that you've integrated allows you then to be in different rooms and speak to different people and tap into like deeper insights, because now like you get out of your own way. And like, yeah, it seems a bit backwards, because then it's like, you were sprinting and you were getting in your own way. So it's like fucking hurdles out here. And now you're like, wait, you're telling me that I can be in stillness and travel to infinity and beyond? Yes. That's exactly it. That like bigger things happen, but it feels easier. And when you've identified with someone that's the complete opposite of that, life pouring back to you and like working for you, rather than you having to like do the work in the way that you know it to be, feels like a crime. It feels like reality is going backwards. It's like, and it literally, it's like cognitive dissonance. It don't make sense. And then like that's another part of the surrender, and the surrendering to yourself. You don't need to make sense in order to be. The universe and the world don't owe you an explanation. You are the explanation. The fact that you're here, like your existence is a testament to the universe. And yeah, it's that the stillness doesn't mean that you don't work, but it just doesn't feel like you're working. And that's something that we also like can settle into. Because then the things that you seemingly thought were difficult before, like certain tasks, some were just straight up misaligned. And I can imagine that if you've arrived to that understanding, your life has pivoted and those tasks aren't necessarily around in the way that you knew, like previously understood them or experienced them. But then there's like, when you're so on purpose and you're like, yo, like this thing is like honoring me right now. Like, yes, there is like, it seems so backwards, right? Because you're like, oh, there is an outcome. But it's not like, if I do this for the next 10 days, then I will get this. It's more like, this is what's alive for me right now. And these are the sensations, this is who I am in this moment in time. What feels like flow to me? And through that, doing systems or creating or expressing on any level starts becoming an act of your own inner stillness, even though externally it might look very proactive. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be meditating to be in stillness and be integrated. Sometimes integration can look like you being the social butterfly, or integration can look like your aloofness and your being in your own quiet space. But what actually happens is you're giving off an essence. Your energy field is telling people and telling the universe that you're in stillness. And it's from that place where calmness, minimal reactivity is the thing that no longer repels everything that you're asking for, everything that you are. So that integration period, I can understand it because it's such a big gap of how you relate to the world and to yourself, that then inherently, like, the narration can so easily come in that there is something wrong, something off. Like, there's like this knee-jerk response. And especially, you live in a world full of other people. That's easy for me to speak about, like, all of this internal stuff in your world, but it's like, we are in a world full of other people that are running this race, like, running away from themselves aggressively, and don't even know it, because they don't even give it a second to, like, look back at, like, the self that they're leaving behind, or looking down at their untied lace because they're just so proud and, like, yeah, and realizing that, like, that finish line that they're looking at is like a event horizon. It's like just an infinity pool. It never ends. And yeah, so it can be difficult when you're seeing family members and friends living a life that looks like they are accomplishing. And I can speak from my experience in the sense that, like, it's like people with kids, or people that have been in long-term relationships, or people that are traveling. Because to me, like, that's my idea of, like, accomplishment. Or yeah, like, people have changed loads of people's lives. Depends on what you're focused on. Or people that just, like, can sit there and, like, you know, smoke and play games, and, like, none of it's wrong, but it's about looking at, like, what aspect you're trying to fulfill for some outcome because someone told you, and that you're in this fight and flight state. Because it's like, what happens if you don't get it done? What happens if you don't experience these things? Like, what does that leave you with? Who does that make you? And that is the type of questions that are waiting for you when you slow down. And if you never slow down, then meeting yourself and integration can never truly happen. Integration isn't necessarily a breakthrough. Like, it's quieter, it's softer, it's slower. The integration in of itself is actually the gentle acceptance, this beautiful transition of just going, I'm going to start showing up a bit differently for myself. Inside out. And it's like, I'm not going to jump to an explanation. I'm not going to be demeaning to myself if I feel myself step back into certain acts that you've initially identified with the fact you're like, actually things need to change. Integration is like that bridge between who you were and who you're realizing yourself to be, and, like, becoming. And I think it's in this phase where you can so easily fall back into a certain behavior and then, like, end up demeaning yourself for that and thinking, maybe I don't have it figured out, maybe I'm wrong, maybe. And it's understanding that, like, I see it as all insight gathering. Because it's like, though you may have smoked, and I know this well, like, it's like, though you may have smoked for ages, many times, and you're like, don't you have enough insights to know not to do that? But then it's like, but this version of yourself that's starting to integrate and cross over the bridge and, like, start seeing things a little bit differently, these newfound perspectives, it's like, this is also the phase where there is nothing wrong with like you then bringing that part of you back to the old self and the old places around the old people and behaviors, because then that actually it leads to this gentle swinging, because from it being these big aggressive shifts, now it's this gentle rocking of like bringing information there, bringing information back, and understanding, and then it's only as you gently arrive to this kind of like still point that then like you kind of complete the loop, and there's comprehensive, fully integrated understanding of yourself in relation to those patterns. And then like that's when then I would argue that we've arrived to it fully being a choice, like without no like kidding yourself or like, you know, justifying or creating something in order to make it easier to do. It's like now you're like, oh cool, I've arrived to discernment, I know what the payoff is and what the cost is, like it's not free, and just but that is the breakthrough. And then being that here's what you was and completely lost in it. So it's this transitionary phase where there's a gradient, and it kind of the selves bleed into each other, and that's when it's so important to see what happens within you and choose which reality to feed. And I think that's when it truly is like it always has been, but like to notice it's like an inside out job, and that sometimes it may not look like that the change is happening externally at certain moments, but it's so imperative to like then not like look outside of yourself. And that's what this integration phase teaches you, because there's going to be some people that judge you if you go, I was going to stop smoking, and then they see you smoking, or judge you for saying like, yeah, you're gonna start doing this thing and you don't start. But deep down, you have now gratified yourself and realized within yourself what the process actually is that's unfolding, because you've arrived to a certain level of your own awareness. And when that awareness has been arrived to, the mind flares up, because the ego knows that it's losing its grip on the reins, and the heart has come online. And that's the funny part, it's like the heart has now already made the decision, but the mind's just catching up to that fact. And it's the mind that is the bridge between the heart and action. The mind needs to be a servant of the heart, but we're still in this integration phase where the mind wants to fend for itself. And this is then when we're experiencing these feelings of like we're dying, and like this, and like maybe like emotions get charged up within us because our brain starts creating and enforcing the stories on why it's like no, like we need to be over here, look at what you're feeling, look at what you're doing. And then that's when like hopefully, because we have switched or beginning to switch our internal authority to one that is more of compassion and one of the heart, that holds the fuel to take the courageous step forward in spite of the fact that some of our actions aren't necessarily aligning with the new reality, but our internal process is. There's phases, right? It's even because you know that you're running away from yourself, which is one level of awareness. But then also there is an innocence to the people that don't know that. Like, wait, let me rephrase that, because there is an innocence across the board, but there is a difference between not remembering yourself at all, and you're just playing out the karmic processes of what needs to happen in order to catalyze you, like remembering yourself. And then you've got the people that remember themselves on a level, and now they're actively avoiding that. And there is a difference there, but it all deserves love, right? Just I'd say the guidance can be a bit different. I'd say it's the people that are more on this side that are aware but aren't choosing. That's kind of where I come in. Because then it's like, oh, it's just the fears and the noise and the doubts and the other components and re-narrating. But the people that are like just playing out their karmic events and they're not at a threshold yet, I don't really play a part in that. The only way I play a part in that is like through the butterfly effect of my existence, you know. And I think that's the same case with yourself. It's about understanding where you take responsibility. And responsibility of your own integration is understanding that once you arrive to a certain level of your own understanding, it doesn't stop. And yeah, it's almost this paradox, right? Because it's like the stillness, there's still motion happening, but it's quite easy to fall into the trap of like, okay, cool, I've spent this time integrating, I have listened, and you're looking around and you're like, I've stopped stressing as much, and you're like, and I'm no longer racing, now what? What's next? I'm ready. And it's this is one that's a continuous process, because it's like we've let the light in on some level, but also like we're still very smart beings, always looking for safety wherever we can get it, always looking for certainty. Like, I done the good thing. It's like, is now more good gonna happen, or you're like, now the bad things don't happen again, right? And I think this is where like duality can come in, and understanding that, like what I said about stillness and motion, it's like spinning a coin. Like, people say that there's two sides to every coin, but actually there's a third option, and the third option is the truth. And I can't believe I've never heard this anywhere else yet. But basically, so you're hearing it here first, maybe, as a philosophy, option C, yeah, is if you spin the coin, it's like we're so busy picking sides, but reality is always in motion. So when you're flipping between these binary ways of thinking about yourself, you're putting like coins into the good jar of actions every day and into the bad jar, forgetting that there's only ever a you jar. And as you spin that coin, you're in clarity, you're walking on the edge of truth, and walking is like the fact that time's passing, like things are happening, but you're on that edge of clarity and alignment, and then it means that you can see yourself as this light and dark energy, and you get to experience the whole field of you. And that is what integration looks like. And that is what stillness looks like, even though the coin's not still, but you have maintained your center. But it's tough, because it feels like everyone else is passing you. But then it like brings us back to the whole, like the guy with a blunt axe and hitting at a tree, and it takes a long time, however long, like let's say 4 times as long as the guy who spends 90% of the time sharpening his axe, and it takes him no time to cut down the tree. It's about understanding the balance of preparation, but that is through allowing yourself to be all of yourself is the greatest preparation for life that you could ever do. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this one here. I can feel it. It's like a little whisper that happens. And I just allow it. Because I trust that there's a part of me that knows. And whatever part of me used to doubt the moment isn't here, because it's waiting in the next moment. And that's not where I'm at. I hope that makes sense. I hope that even at the end of that, I was like, that sounds a little bit like, Cameron, only you can get that. That's like some mumbo jumbo. Anyway, trust your process. Be be grateful for the fact that you've managed to find some level of stillness. And if you haven't, I hope through some of these explanations you see the contrast of chaos and clarity and peace. And even if you feel estranged from that, having the mirror to that can hopefully reflect where you're at. And hopefully that's something that you can lovingly accept.